Welcome to Legal Affairs. My name is Diamond Liddy, and I'm the public defender of the 19th Judicial Circuit. We have a great show, as always, but we have a wonderful guest that actually has been with us before, Paul Pearson. And Paul is, what is your, is it sergeant, is it?
Well, it's called Master Officer.
Master Officer.
I guess in the military it would be like a corporal.
Okay, great. Master Officer Paul Pearson with the Fort Pierce Police Department.
Correct.
And more importantly, with PAL,
right,
the Police Athletic League. Let's start. I know you're going to tell us about wonderful goings-on for Christmas and the kids and stuff this year. But before we get to that, let's back up a little and talk about the Police Athletic League. No, more important, let's back up even further and talk about you for a minute.
Okay.
Paul, how long have you been with Fort Pierce Police Department?
Well, going on 27 years.
I knew it was a long time.
And prior to that, I had 2 years with the state. So,
almost 30 years. Now, you're not going to be
almost 29 years.
Yeah, okay.
I'll be 30 by the time I
Yeah, no, I know. And so you're not one of those that are getting ready to retire, I hope.
Well, actually, I'm going to be retiring in May.
Right.
And I'm still going to work with the Police Athletic League, though.
Okay, okay. And how long have you been involved with the Police Athletic League?
Well, in 1995, we really didn't have any youth programs within the police department.
Right.
So I did some research, and I realized that there was a Police Athletic League that started exactly 100 years ago in August.
Right.
In New York City. It was gang-infested even in 1914.
No kidding. I didn't realize it went back that far.
I didn't either until I researched it. And it was a good program, and I got in contact with National Police Athletic League, and there was about 320 cities that was active in 1995.
Right.
So that's how we started with it. And they were pretty big on boxing. I know a lot of people say boxing is violent, but most of the inner cities, the largest cities, it attracted a lot of the kids to come in, and they got mentoring with the police officers as they learned how to box. And it's more like an individual sport.
And this was in 1914?
This 1914 was in New York City.
Right.
1995 is how we started.
Oh, no, I know that. But it goes back as early as 1914
Yeah. It actually started there because there was a lot of gangs, and they still had a lot of empty lots in New York. And one of the lieutenants there wanted to get these gangs to make peace. So he started a baseball team.
Now, you're not from New York by any chance, are you? I'm kidding.
But I'm here 30 years.
Okay, I know, but you still have the accent. Well, that's funny. What's old is new again. You know, the gangs in now we have gangs in 2014.
Turns around, right?
But so you did the research and realized, and I have to say, Paul, of course, I'm educated now because I've had you on the show before, and with what I do and all the things you do for the community. But you do, I think many of the viewers may have the sense that PAL, the Police Athletic League, only does things that like boxing or sports, and that's not all you do at all.
No, that's how we started.
Right. In 95.
You know, you have a zero budget.
Right.
The police chief back in 95 said, okay, you can have 3 hours a week to work on a program.
Right.
So I was putting in about 10 hours, 3 hours on police time and 7 hours on my own time.
Right.
And it just grew so large that in 1998, they pulled me 100% off the road.
So since 1998, this is all you've been doing?
Right, and we grew from about 8 to 10 boxers to about 120 boxing athletes a year, 270 football and cheerleading. We have over 100 kids in our youth leadership and mentoring program. So you see how it expanded to different things?
Right.
Our boxing coaches actually mentor the kids part-time. Our football coaches before they play football because they have to keep their grades up.
Right.
So we got the attitude of 100 years ago from New York City, just sports, into like if you want to get ahead in life, not everybody's going to be a football champion or so. And when it's working, it's been working.
Well, let's go back a little bit. You started with the boxing, and you have. Let's talk about the sports though first,
okay.
And let's back up a little bit again. What age groups do you help? Do you serve?
Right. We target mostly 8 to 17-year-olds.
Okay.
But we do have programs. We have a program that you could be as young as 4 years old to 12. It's called the Dance and Drama Program that we had partnered with the Fort Pierce Women's Club.
Okay.
So we use their facility. They have a small stage.
And it's girls and boys, obviously.
Right, but there's mostly girls in that one.
Okay. Obviously.
Yeah, and they do like little ballet, and they teach them stuff. We have a high school student that works with them, and one of our volunteers and the women's club, they all help. That's building up. We just started that maybe about 3 months ago.
Great.
So they'll be advancing, and we try to do everything for low cost as possible. In the very beginning, when we did the boxing, it was free, but we were starting to become a babysitting organization, and then all our coaches would quit.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example, and you're going to laugh when you hear this. We charge $40 for the whole year.
Oh, my goodness.
And it probably costs about $120 a person to keep in there. So we have to raise funds to make up the difference.
Well, and we're going to get to that in a minute, but let's say with the boxing or with any of the sports, there is a fee, the $40 a year, and but how many different programs does PAL have? Because that's the thing that is amazing to me. I know you have the boxing, you obviously have the football. What other programs for boys and girls do you have other than that?
Well, just in the sports right now, we're doing cheerleading, we're doing basketball. We're doing elementary basketball. So if you're in elementary school, those are the ones we're targeting, because there's a lot of we try not to duplicate too much if somebody's working well. We'll do t-ball, but we won't do baseball because Little League does a very good job.
Right.
And we let them use our field, some of the teams, to practice. So it's a good partnership. We did take over the old YMCA about 3 years ago. The city rebuilt it, and the Police Athletic League went in. And so since then, we actually doubled our clientele.
Gotcha.
So,
and that's over there by TD Bank.
Right behind TD Bank on Okeechobee Road.
And how long have you had that building?
Just about going on 3 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, before that, did you even have a bricks and mortar place?
Well, we had a place on North 2nd Street over in the industrial area.
Right.
But that was really hard for kids to get across the railroad tracks in US 1. We had that for about 3 years, which was very large. It was 40,000 square feet.
Right.
So we never ran out of room. It's just that it didn't have any outside fields.
Right.
So now we have baseball fields, soccer. We have 9.5 acres. So it's really something that we do. And
well, so there's not 9.5 acres there behind TD Bank. Where is?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. If you look behind TD Bank, there's probably about maybe 2.5 acres.
Right.
And then if you go across the street, there's a large field.
That's part of PAL too.
That's part of PAL too, correct.
Oh, wow. Okay,
yeah.
so
now
go ahead.
That's undeveloped. All it is a big field.
Right,
So we have 3 baseball diamonds there. Our football's kids practice there.
Right.
It's just a big open field right now. There's no electric, has a few street lights. And
well, how did the PAL teams, who do they play against? Are there other PAL teams in the state? Or
with the football, well, the state Police Athletic League is out of Jacksonville.
Okay.
There's about 45 cities from Florida. There's 4 states that have state police athletic leagues, and Florida's one of them.
Right.
Everybody else is a national member. So we're lucky to have a state that also does it too.
Right.
So they have programs that we compete in, like we just did a boxing tournament, and we held it in Fort Pierce.
Okay.
Well, indirectly, it's really a fundraiser because people come and they want to see their children box.
Right.
So they'll come, or the community will come and they'll buy, a seat to get in for $10.
Right.
And then it gives our youth leadership kids a chance to sell food.
Right.
And they raise some money, for their programs. So everything that we do is really good for the community because we sold 260 nights of rooms in 2 days just with our boxing pro by bringing the state tournament to Fort Pierce.
Right. So how did we fare? I'd have to ask. How did we do?
As far as raising funds?
No, as far as the boxing tournament.
Oh, we do very well. We're taking some kids to West Palm Beach this Saturday.
Right.
It's called the Silver Gloves. It's for 8 years old to 15-year-olds.
Okay.
So there's always a tournament around. Whether the kid loses or wins, it really don't matter. I mean, it matters to the coaches.
Right.
My point of view is that if these kids are busy, they might not be the best basketball player or the best boxer, but they're
busy and they're out of trouble.
Right, and if they do it as hard as they can, we take them on trips, and it don't cost them a penny.
Now, are the so the $40 includes
everything.
Travel to Palm Beach to play in that? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, are your coaches and stuff? Are they volunteers or are they paid?
We have about 85% of our staff is volunteers.
Wow.
So we have 14 board of directors that all volunteer to help fundraise.
Right, right.
We're very selective. Our bylaws won't allow no more than 14, and they stay. We have board members that were here for 10, 15 years.
Oh, my goodness.
Because they see the results, and it's very, it's very rewarding when you see. One of the things that I didn't realize until about 8 years ago, now more than ever, I'll have someone come in that's 30 years old, and they'll have their children with them that are 6, and they want to put them in our program, and I don't recognize them.
Oh, that we're
because
in the
they were only 12.
Yeah.
And now they're adults, and they're good citizens, and they bring their kids in, and they go, "Don't you remember me?" And then when they tell me their name, I say, "Oh yeah, you were in our, program in 1999." And well, I want my kids to come here because it kept me out of trouble.
Oh, wow.
So that's very, very rewarding.
Well, now, and we still haven't talked about all the things you do, and we got to finish that. But let's back up a minute. How does a child? How do you get to be part of PAL? I mean, do you are you involved in the criminal justice system first, or are there court referrals, or can anyone, whether you're rich, poor, whatever?
It really don't matter. Our most expensive program is Pop Warner football. Is because we have to pay Pop Warner, so that program's a little pricey. So we get sponsorships, or the kids try to get sponsorships. That program is $125 for the season. Right. But that's very costly. You have to get the helmets.
Oh, I know. I've been through that.
Yeah. We send kids to Miami. We send kids to all over. But that kind of like covers the whole cost. So when somebody wants to join, they could just call up. It's mostly word of mouth.
Okay.
We really don't have a billboard saying, join PAL.
Oh, no.
If somebody likes something, like we have our youth leadership program. Right. They're teenagers. They'll come in, and we'll start off with 4 kids, and then we'll make a president and vice president. They run the meetings. And before you know it, there's 30 kids because they're telling their friends. Right. What we supply, now that program is absolutely free for anybody. So if we have somebody that's in trouble, they have a diversion program where a kid got, like, say, shoplifting. Right. And instead of going through the criminal justice system, the police department has a diversion program where we'll hold their complaint affidavit if they do 10 hours or 20 hours community service, write an apology letter, and so on. And get involved in youth leadership. Right. So they'll come into our gymnasium to do this community service with an attitude that nobody wants to see because they're mad. Right. So we get them to clean the floors and wash the windows, and before you know it, they're like changing little by little because now they're getting respect from our staff. We're not really pushing them around, basically. We're just trying to explain to them. and they actually turn out to be really good kids. So they might join our youth leadership program because they probably know some of the kids from going to school.
Right, right.
And it keeps them out of trouble. So they don't get a record, they stay, and I see them 20 years later.
Oh, no, that's great. How many, and again, we still got to go over all the different programs, because I don't think, like I say, I guarantee there's a large percentage of the public that thinks PAL is boxing. I mean,
no, I know.
And that's a problem.
Because it was that for the first 2 or 3 years.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
But how many children currently are enrolled in all your programs?
I would say we're close to 1,000.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're probably close to 1,000. Like, I know we had about a year and a half ago when we pulled the records was about 500 that we had birth certificates for.
Wow.
And that was from the ages of 5 to 17. We don't, if someone comes in and they were a past member in our program that's 18 or 19, we usually let them come back in because we kind of know them.
Right.
One of the tough things is background checks.
Yeah.
Obviously, we can't do anything with the kids, but when you turn 18, if you got somebody that's 25 or 30 years old and they want to come in and they want to be a coach, they have to go through a background check.
Oh, sure,
and
sure.
Even though they had some criminal past history, some of these older people want to change.
Right.
And you see that they haven't gotten in trouble since they were 19, now they're 30. Yeah. So I let our chief of police make that decision when it comes back. Some don't make it. Some, some
sure.
we let do it, and they're really good. They talk to the kids well, and teach them not to do what they did.
Right, which is great.
It does really help.
Do most of the and you get referrals, I'm sure, from schools, teachers, that kind of thing too, correct?
We do. Most of the time, we get referrals from other kids. They tell their friends.
And that's
great? Just word of mouth. Seems, there's an old saying, word of mouth is the best advertisement. It's true. If you're doing something good, it works.
Well, and I know because I've spoken to, at the center where you're at now, to some of the kids. It may have been the youth leadership program, to tell them about the public defender's office and what we do, and to stay out of trouble and that kind of thing too. But go ahead and what about funding? How do you pay for all this, Paul?
Well, we have I call it nickel and diamond people in plain street talk. Right. But it works. You don't have a main source of income? Right now we do. We have the city of Fort Pierce that's helping us because they own the facility. Oh, I got you. We don't have to pay any rent. They take care of it. They want kids to stay out of trouble. Right. So our police department's 100% behind it. They take care of my salary 100%, so that's going to give more money to the kids. Right. So if someone actually donates money to our organization, there's no administration attached to it. Right. It's going to go straight to the help. It goes right at the programs. Right. And people see that, especially other organizations like the Elks Club, Kiwanis. And they see that, and they'll make a commitment and donate so much money whenever we're doing a fundraising. Their members will buy tickets, and some of them don't even show up, but they know it's going in the right. It's going, to the kids. And I know from fundraising myself that the more you can say percentage-wise the money goes to help people and less for administrative costs, the more people are willing to give. Because if they're given $100 and only 40 of it goes to help, they're going to be reluctant. Right. And we have some people that actually will donate money and say, I want it to be for this. Right. Or they'll say, well, what do you need? And I'll say, well, we need another computer. And they'll actually buy a computer because the whole thing goes to the kids. They work on it. Right, right. So they actually see what they're doing with their funding. It's really, really, nice. And I think a lot of it is because even though I'm the director of the Police Athletic League. And you're not totally objective, and I understand. Yeah. I'm not out there trying to raise, $100,000 annually, and I have to pay myself. Yeah. That's the best thing.
Right.
So the city of Fort Pierce right now
has really stepped up.
Has really stepped up. The police department really stepped up, and even the sheriff's department. You know, it's another agency completely. You know, I'm not going to mention what they do for us, but if I had to count their in-kind service, it's probably between their helping us and the in-kind service, I would say $50,000 a year.
Oh yeah.
So
well, and they have always any type of program, even programs that our office does, that it helps reduce recidivism. They're on board for.
Oh yeah.
And of course your department. I mean, but it makes sense. I mean, you don't want the extra work. If you can make sure you've broken the cycle of crime, if you can make sure kids aren't back within the system time and time again. I mean, think of the money we've saved. I mean, it's incredible.
And that's funny when you said break the cycle, because when I was on the road, we had a lot of problems in the late 80s and early 90s. And every officer, when they had a juvenile, it was so easy just to arrest them. And then that was it.
Oh, I know.
You filled out one form, arrest affidavit or complaint affidavit, dropped them off, and then, you know, Department of Juvenile Justice, whatever, call their parents, and they're gone.
Yeah.
Well, I had a kid that was throwing rocks, and this was probably in 93 or 94, and he was hitting windows. And this kid's like 12 years old.
Right.
Now, I know everybody probably did that when they were a kid. They hide behind the thing, and they throw their pebbles or whatever they're throwing. So I grabbed a hold of these kids, and I had to arrest them for vandalism.
Right.
And the kid didn't realize what he did. He just did not know that, oh, I can get, I didn't
go to jail. Yeah.
Well, he didn't realize this. So I said, wow, something's wrong here. And that's why I said we got to do something with these kids and try to get them. And when we first started in 95, we actually were in the, where we are now, the old YMCA.
Right.
And we used to get out at 7:30 at night. And in the wintertime, it's dark. So we had the 13, 14-year-old kids, and they would come the next day, and they would say, oh, I had to walk home, which is okay. And they would tell me, oh, if I see a police car, I run. Well, if a police officer sees somebody running, in 94, I mean 95, you're going to think in your mind, this kid's doing something.
Right. It's just
something.
Into a home.
So I said, well, what are you running for? Because I don't want him to pull me over. I don't want him to stop me. And they were on foot. It's teenagers.
Yeah.
So I said, no, that's okay. I says, if they stop, please tell them you just left with Officer Pearson, and I would make these cards. At that time, we had pictured cards.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
I was a lot skinnier, though. Yeah. And I would give the kids the cards and say, if you get stopped, just tell them to call me.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't have cell phones. We had pages.
Right.
But it worked, and they just don't know. They just thought it was, you know, habit. And
well, and, you know, given you your due, and you have done a phenomenal job. I mean, I'm so proud of what you've done. You know, you're working with, even though these children have not been in trouble yet, a lot of them are right on the edge.
Well, that's what we're trying to stay.
And that's a tough job to get them on the right track, to make sure they aren't in trouble.
Right. Well, one of the things I noticed right away with kids is you have to mix them up. You can't separate them. Everybody's got to be on equal ground. I have 4 children. Each one of them went through the program with me. I actually made them come.
Wow.
So we're talking from, my kids were like 7 years old to 15 at the time.
Right.
They all had to go. Every one of them, 2 of them are sheriff's department deputies. One is a fireman in Gainesville area. And my daughter, I have one girl, she's a real estate agent. Never been in trouble with the law.
Right.
And my biggest fear as a parent, like everyone else, is what drugs could do to these kids.
Right.
Once they get hooked on it, they do things that they wouldn't do normally.
Right.
So putting my kids in there, now I live from a middle-class family. I teach my kids the right from wrong. They're mixed in with some kids that were probably not getting fed maybe once a day, and they learned from each other.
Okay, you know, that's interesting.
My kids learn street skills, and that's why they're very good deputies.
Right.
And a fireman, because they want to help the community. And,
well, it's interesting.
And the kids bring themselves up So it's not just a one-way street. It educates everybody, and that's why we do a summer camp. The Children's Service Council actually helps fund it.
Right.
We had 75 kids in there. I couldn't take no more.
Well, believe it or not, we are almost out of time. No. And I don't want to miss the opportunity to talk about the toy run. But, you know, I do want to say your idea of mixing them up is unique. A lot of people I've had on the show talking about kids, they think that they should be separate, you know, the bad ones or the on-the-edge kids from the good ones and that kind of thing. I think I like your idea better, and I think it works. Absolutely.
I see it.
Okay, the St. Lucie County Toy Run, Sunday, December 14th. Tell us about that, Paul.
Well, that's going to be a really big event. We have a lot of sponsors that help us with that motorcycle. People are they're riding on $20,000 or $30,000 toys.
Right, right.
So
so it's a motorcycle run?
It's a motorcycle run.
Okay.
Right. It starts off on US 1 at a Victory motorcycle dealership.
Right.
And it runs around the island and comes to our PAL Center.
Okay.
We have up to 1,100 motorcycles. Everybody brings a toy.
Okay.
So when they get to the park, we have a live band, a couple of bands playing.
Right.
And this is all volunteer. And they fill a boxing ring up with toys.
Okay, so the bike lineup is at 8, the ride starts at 11.
Right. And it ends up at our PAL Center around 12.
Okay, so if someone wants to get involved, they can bring a toy to the PAL Center.
Right, even if they don't have a motorcycle.
Okay.
They can get there anytime after 10 o'clock. We have a small car show there.
Okay.
We have our SWAT team there that have a display.
Okay.
It's a lot of activity. We have entertainment. We have the Cactus Moon dancers. They dance. So it's indoor and outdoor.
Okay.
1,100 people. And we have vendors for food if they're hungry and whatever. So it's really an event that is something good for the kids. And we just don't give out toys. We don't open up a truck and say, come get your toys. Our police department has a victim assist woman. So she picks out like the ones that like domestic violence and their husbands are maybe in jail. And we know those kids are not going to get nothing. Right. So we have about 500 kids already on that list.
Great. Okay, well, everybody needs to come out December 14th. And bring your toys, bring your checkbook, whatever you could bring with it. You're happy to take it. And closing, give us your telephone number if they need to contact you.
It's 466-0606.
And ask for Paul Pearson.
You can ask for Paul Pearson or Ann Burns if I'm not there.
Okay, perfect.
And if you want to get involved with any kind of a sport or a mentoring program, it's all of the youth leadership and the mentoring programs are free.
Great. Thank you so much, Paul, and Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.